Welcome to Daily Conversation. This is Mr. K.
This is Eric.
Yeah, today is the 18th of September 2021, and the time now is 6:16 a.m. Well, today is a reading session, and we are going to continue reading the book Atomic Habit. Alright, so before we get started, please click the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Alright, so here we go. Yeah, so we start from line 1577, right?
There's the power of atomic habits. Tiny changes, remarkable results. Appendix. What should you read next? Thank you so much for taking the time to read this book. It has been a pleasure sharing my work with you. If you are looking for something to read next, allow me to offer you a suggestion.
If you enjoy Atomic Habits, then you may like my other writing as well. My latest articles are sent out in my free weekly newsletter. Subscribers are also the first to hear about my newest books and projects. Finally, in addition to my own work, each year I send out a reading list of my favorite books from other authors on a wide range of subjects.
You can sign up at jamesclear.com/newsletter. Little lessons from the four laws. In this book, I've introduced a four-step model for human behavior: cue, craving, response, reward. This framework not only teaches us how to create new habits, but also reveals some interesting insights about human behavior.
Problem phase, cue, craving, solution phase, response, reward. In this section, I have compiled some lessons and a few bits of common sense that are confirmed by the model. The purpose of these examples is to clarify just how useful and wide-ranging this framework is when describing human behavior. Once you understand the model, you'll see examples of it everywhere.
Awareness comes before desire. A craving is created when you assign meaning to a cue. Your brain constructs an emotion or feeling to describe your current situation, and that means a craving can only occur after you have noticed an opportunity.
Happiness is simply the absence of desire. When you observe a cue but do not desire to change your state, you are content with the current situation. Happiness is not about the achievement of pleasure, which is joy or satisfaction, but about the lack of desire. It arises when you have no urge to feel differently. Happiness is the state you enter when you no longer want to change your state.
However, happiness is fleeting because a new desire always comes along. As Kate Goodrich says, happiness is the space between one desire being fulfilled and a new one desire forming. Likewise, suffering is the space between craving a change in state and getting it.
It is the idea of pleasure that we chase. We seek the image of pleasure that we generate in our minds. At the time of action, we do not know what it will be like to attain that image, or even if it will satisfy us. The feeling of satisfaction only comes afterward. This is what the Austrian neurologist Viktor Frankl meant when he said that happiness cannot be pursued, it must ensue. Desire is pursued, pleasure ensues from action.
Peace occurs when you don't turn your observations into problems. The first step in any behavior is observation. You notice a cue, a bit of information, an event. If you do not desire to act on what you observe, then you are at peace.
Craving is about wanting to fix everything. Observation without craving is the realization that you do not need to fix anything. Your desires are not running rampant. You do not crave a change. Instead, your mind does not generate a problem for you to solve. You are simply observing and existing.
With a big enough why, you can overcome anyhow. Fried- Fried- Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher and poet, famously wrote, he, he who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow. This phrase harbors an important clue about human behavior. If your motivation and desire are great enough, that is, why are acting? You'll take action even when it's quite difficult. Great craving, great craving can power great actions, even when friction is high.
Being curious is better than being smart. Being motivated and curious counts for more than being smart because it leads to action. Being smart will never deliver results on its own because it doesn't get you to act. It is desire, not intelligence, that prompts behavior. As Naval Ravikant says, the trick to doing anything is first cultivating a desire for it.
Emotions drive behavior. Every decision is an emotional decision at some level. At some level, whatever your logical reasons are for taking actions, you only feel compelled to act on them because of emotion. In fact, people with damage to emotional centers of the brain can list many reasons for taking actions, but still will not end because they do not have emotions to drive them. This is why craving comes before response. The feelings comes first, and then the behavior.
We can only be rational and logical after we have been emotional. The primary mode of the brain is to feel. The secondary mode is to think. Our first response, the fast, non-conscious portion of the brain, is optimized for feeling and anticipating. Our second response, the slow, conscious portion of the brain, is the part that does the thinking.
Psychologists refer to this as System 1. feelings and rapid judgment versus System 2, rational analysis. Rational analysis. The feeling comes first. System 1, the rationality only intervenes later. System 2. This works great when the two are aligned, but it results in illogical and emotional thinking when they are not.
Okay, second line. The last second word you pronounce as intervenes, I think is intervenes.
Intervene.
Intervenes, yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I mean the last syllable is something like wins.
intervene.
Your, your response tends to follow your emotions. Our thoughts and actions are rooted in what we find attractive, not necessarily in what is logical. Two people can notice the same set of facts and respond very differently because they run those facts through their unique emotional filter. This is one reason why appealing to emotion is typically more powerful than appealing to reason. If a topic makes someone feel emotional, they will rarely be interested in the data. This is why emotions can be such a threat to wise decision making.
Put another way, most people believe that the reasonable response is the one that benefits them, the one that satisfies their desires. To approach a situation from a more neutral emotional position allows you to base your response on the data rather than the emotion.
Suffering drives progress. The source of all suffering is the desire for a change in state. This is also the source of all progress. The desire to change your state is what powers you to take action. It is wanting more that pushes humanity to seek improvements, develop new technologies, and reach for a higher level. With craving, we are dissatisfied but driven. Without craving, we are satisfied but lack ambition.
Your actions reveal how badly you want something. If you keep saying something is a priority but you never act on it, then you don't really want it. It's time to have an honest conversation with yourself. Your actions reveal your true motivation.
Reward is on the other side of sacrifice. Response, sacrifice of energy, always precedes reward, the collection of resources. The runner's high only comes after the hard run. The reward only comes after the energy is spent.
Self-control is difficult because it's not satisfying. The reward is an outcome that satisfies your craving. This makes self-control ineffective because inhibiting our desires does not usually resolve them. Resisting temptation does not satisfy your craving, it just ignores it. It creates space for the craving to pass. Self-control requires you to release the desire rather than satisfying.
Our, our expectations determine our satisfaction. The gap between our cravings and our rewards determines how satisfied we feel after taking action. If the mismatch mismatch between expectations and outcomes is positive, surprise and delight, then we are more likely to repeat a behavior in the future. If the mismatch is negative, disappointment and frustration, then we are less likely to do so.
For example, if you expect to get $10 and get $100, you feel great. If you expect to get $100 and get $10, you feel disappointed. Your expectation changes your satisfaction. An average experience preceded by high expectations is a disappointment. An average experience preceded by low expectations is a delight. When liking and wanting are approximately the same, you feel satisfied.
Satisfaction equal to liking minus wanting. This is the wisdom behind Seneca's famous quote, being poor is not having too little, it is wanting more. If your wants outpace your likes, you'll always be unsatisfied. You're per- perpetually putting more weight on the problem than the solution.
Happiness is relative. When I first began sharing my writing publicly, it took me 3 months to get 1,000 subscribers. When I hit that milestone, I told my parents and my girlfriends. We celebrated. I felt excited and motivated. A few years later, I realized that 1,000 people were signing up each day, and yet I didn't even think to tell anyone. It felt normal. I was getting results 90 times faster than before, but experiencing little pleasures over it. It wasn't until a few days later that I realized how absurd it was that I wasn't celebrating something that would have seemed like a pipe dream just a few years before.
Last line, this one I think is pipe, and you pronounce as pile.
Oh, okay. Pipe.
The pain of failure correlates to the height of expectation. When desire is high, it hurts to not like the outcome. Failing to attain something you want hurts more than failing to attain something you didn't think much about in the first place. This is why people say, I don't want to get my hopes up.
Feelings come both before and, and after the behavior. Before acting, there's a feeling that motivates you to act, the craving. After acting, there's a feeling that teaches you to repeat the actions in the future, the reward.
Craving.
Cue,
Sorry. Yeah. 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 You may continue.
cue, direct to craving, feelings, direct to response, direct to rewards, feelings.
How we feel influences how we act, and how we act influences how we feel. Desire initiates, pleasure sustains. Wanting and liking are the two drivers of behavior. If it's not desirable, you have no reason to do it. Desire and craving are what initiate a behavior. But if it's not enjoyable, you have no reason to repeat it. Pleasure and satisfaction are what sustain a behavior. Feeling motivated gets you to act. Feeling successful gets you to repeat.
Hope declines the experience and is replaced by acceptance. The first time an opportunity arises, there is hope of what could be. The expectations, cravings is based solely on promise. The second time around, the expectation is grounded in reality. You begin to understand how the process works, and your hope is gradually traded for a more accurate predictions and acceptance of the likely outcome.
This is one reason why we continually grasp for the latest get-rich-quick or weight loss scheme. New plans offer hope because we don't have any experiences to ground our expectation. New strategies seem more appealing than old ones because they can have unbounded hope. As Aristotle noted, youth is easily deceived because it is quick to hope. Perhaps this can be revised to youth is easily deceived because it only hopes. There is no experience to root the expectation in. In the beginning, hope is all you have.
How to apply these ideas to business. Over the years, I've spoken at Fortune's 500 companies and growing startups about how to apply the science of small habits to run more effective businesses and build better products. I've compiled many of the most practical strategies into a short bonus chapter. I think you'll find it to be an incredibly useful additions to the main ideas mentioned in Atomic Habits. You can download the chapters at atomichabit.com/business.
How to apply these ideas to parenting. One of the most common questions I hear from readers is something along the lines of, how can I get my kids to do this stuff? The ideas in Atomic Habits are intended to apply broadly to all of human behavior. Teenagers are humans too, which means you should find plenty of useful strategies in the main text. That said, parenting does face its own set of challenges. As a bonus chapter, I've put together a brief guide on how to apply these ideas specifically to parenting. You can download this chapter at atomichabits.com/parenting. Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations. You have finished one book.
Yeah, really.
Okay,
All right,
next,
so yeah,
next
the
summary.
summary, right? All right, and firstly, I think even though this is the kind of the
Conclusion.
last part, the ending of the book, yeah, like conclusion, and I still feel like it is kind of uh how to say
A lot
uh
of information included.
yeah in Chinese we say 浓缩.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't elaborate a lot, right?
Mm,
Um, Firstly, I think I continue with my summary, and then later we may discuss if we have anything want to discuss.
Mhm.
And firstly, it says for what we read is actually uh, surrounded by four laws, which is cue, craving, response, reward. And the authors say this is something like the four-step model for human behavior. And uh, for these four steps, four laws, it can be broken into two parts. And the first two, which is the cue and craving, they are the problem phase. And then for response and reward, they are the solution phase. And then um, all right, let me see. Actually, I did write it in the notebook because I think it was quite complicated this time. Wait a minute. Okay. There is one part it says that uh, uh, if we draw a line at the left-hand side, which is the beginning, let's say we have a desire, any desire, and then the desire here can be the craving. Yeah, and then of course, before this desire, we must have the opportunities, which is the cue. Yeah, and then after we have the craving, and then actually we feel suffering. We feel suffering, but this suffering is driven by some forces, for example, pleasure. Um, yeah, because once we have the desire, we have the craving, we actually um, wanted to do something. We wanted to like fix something so that we actually feel suffering. But once we do it, and then it seems like uh, we can get pleasure to do that instead of not doing it. And after some time, maybe that craving will be fulfilled, and then um, after we fulfill, actually that is a space if there is no new desire come to our mind or the new cue that we see. And then the space between one desire or one craving has been fulfilled and the other new desire. Yeah, there is a space between. This is what the authors say is the happiness. This is the happiness. This is the peace, which didn't uh, we didn't have new desire, and then we didn't want to uh, change something. We feel peace at here at this. We feel peaceful at this space. And then in our reality, there are a lot of desires, there are a lot of cues. So after this space, maybe yes, maybe no, maybe don't even have a space between. It follow with new desire, and then the same thing repeat again. Suffering, but is driven by pleasure, so we wanted to fulfill it. And then yeah, for here, I think um, it did make me think about happiness. Yeah, because for here, it seems like happiness is something like you don't do anything, you stay in your comfortable zones. And then to me, I think yes, comfortable zones can deliver happiness. But in the reality, maybe it is not because you will feel many things keep coming to you. Um, Either is the your new desire, your new craving, or maybe it's something unhappy that you face. Maybe some challenges because you stay in your comfortable zone, and then in the reality, you couldn't have that comfortable zones all the time. So uh, maybe after that, um, you couldn't be so happy, you couldn't feel peaceful. And
I think
and
one
yeah.
of one of the reason we can't be have a peace of mind because we keep worrying, we keep thinking. If
Mm.
if we keep do nothing.
Yeah, but yes, we keep worrying, but in the reality, I think it is kind of difficult to not worry, right?
Yeah,
Not having things to worry.
yeah. This is something that add in what you have said just now.
Yeah, yeah. I think you also point out an important point here, which is actually the things comes from our inside instead of outside because we react. Yeah, but of course, because of the cue, the outside, make us to respond to that. Yep. So previously we also talk about a lot of uh, things about happiness, and I think those we said before is something like a good method to use in the reality instead of pursuing peaceful. You can also do that for some people, like they um, maybe they want to um, go to the temple and then they pursue some uh, how to say the achievement uh, in their mind or what, yeah, something like that. For them, they are pursuing peaceful, that is okay, but for normal people, if we still um, uh, do we still work, we still live as usual, so maybe the happiness uh, method which we often talk before is suitable. Yep, so it is like we have many desire and then we fulfill it, and then followed by a new one, we keep fulfilling them. Yep, and then also in this part, I feel like um, the authors mentions emotions a lot, and emotions is very important in many places, including forming and dealing with habits. And also, there are some sentences come out with the emotions come first before our response, before our behavior. And also, this is why the four laws, the craving comes before response. Yeah, and for craving, it is actually a kind of emotions. It is a feeling, and um, yeah, we basically feel first before we think. And then also there is a part talk about in psychology, they call this system one, which is the fast and non-conscious portion of our brain, which we actually feel it. And after system one, we go to system two, which is slow, conscious portion of the brain, which means that after we feel it, and only then we can think. And for these two, the authors thinks that it need to be aligned. It seems like we need to um, not focus too much on uh, system one, and also not focus too much on system two and ignoring system one. And they need to be something like cooperate. They need to be aligned well, and so that our thinking, our decision making will not be too emotional. And then,
Uh, One
hmm,
more thing to add in,
yeah,
it need to be aligned, it need to be cooperated because uh, yeah, uh, to rely on system two,
mm,
we can make those decisions which is uh, less reliant on system one. So
yeah,
that's mean less rely on emotions. So we can make more rational decision.
mm,
Uh, But this is not the reason that we want to align them. This is just the reason that we need system 2. And the reason that we also need system 1 is because only emotion can lead to behavior. Sorry, not only, but most of our behavior is actually driven by the emotion. So
Yeah.
if you keep using your system 2, your brain will overload, and you can't do much thing. So you need to make something become habits and let the emotion take part of the behavior, so you can free up your mind. You can have a mental freedom, so you can really spend your time, your effort, your energy on something that you want to do on it, and and it will burn your brain energy. Yeah. So this is the reason why we need to align both of them.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Yeah, you also you also solved some of my doubts here.
Mm.
Yep. And then yeah, just now you said for behavior, we need cravings. Yeah. Um uh yep. Because emotions, emotion is craving. So it is the motivation pushes us to do things. So we couldn't solely rely on system 2, like I said, it will be overloaded for our brain. And then yep, also there is one part talk about self-control is difficult. And for this part, yeah, is also dealing with the emotion. System 1 and system 2 can be related, because self-control is something that we try to pull ourselves back uh, from craving, because you can think like the craving is in front of you, and then self-control is like you go the opposite way instead of going towards craving. So it is something like we go against our emotion. Um, we use system 2. We want to avoid emotion. We want to uh, like to ignore a desire. So it is not easy. Uh, um, it will use, I think, many of our willpower, and so that it is not easy, and also it is quite impossible in the long run. Yep, and then um, yeah, if that action is not the first time you do, I think not only you are facing the uh, you're facing the temptation of craving, also you're facing the temptation for reward. So self-control is difficult because you have to deal with your craving, also deal with the reward in your mind.
Mm.
Yep. Um, yeah, and the next part it talked about expectation and also satisfaction.
Uh,
Um, oh yeah.
I think it's expectations and the outcome. The satisfaction is like the combination of these two.
Oh, um, satisfaction,
Because there is a formula which is satisfaction equal liking minus
liking.
wanting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, liking is something like uh our outcome. Sorry. Yeah, actually you can think in another way. Satisfaction can also be like the expectation. Expect. Sorry. Outcome minus expectation. Because there's one example is
Mm,
if you expect $100 and if
mm,
you only get $10, so
mm,
one is expectation, one is outcome, and then you feel dissatisfaction. You feel disappointment. You feel
mm.
disappointed. Yeah. And if another way around, you expect 10 and then you get 100,
Yeah.
and there's a delight.
Mm,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I think satisfaction is the combination of these two.
Yeah. So I make a mistake here because I put expectation as the want and satisfaction as the like. So it is not. It is like the outcome is the like, and then satisfaction is the uh, is the result after liking minus wanting, right?
Mm.
Mm. Yep. All right, and then also in the reading parts today, it go a little bit inside the expectation. Something like uh, for new things, for new habits, because the lack of
Knowledge.
experience, yeah, and knowledge. So basically, we have the expectation based on the promise, based on the something we imagine in our mind, so that we feel like new habits is something uh, um, kind of uh,
Appealing.
yeah, appealing, and we feel motivated to do it. And then maybe after the first time, the second time, the third time, the terms used in the book is we grounded in reality. Yeah, our expectation grounded in reality, and our expectation are more accurate. And then uh, we the predictions and also the predictions are also more accurate, and then we also have the acceptance um, in our expectation. Yep.
Mm.
Yeah, and then yeah, I think for here expectation keep changing, right? After the first
Yeah.
time, and then expectation is the wanting. Okay.
So liking should be uh, the positive outcome, is it?
Hmm.
So for example, if the outcome is negative, so that means liking minus wanting will negative,
Hmm.
result in negative. So satisfaction becomes negative. So that means is dissatisfaction.
Hmm.
Uh, so uh, so we can change the liking to disliking. So that means satisfaction equal to liking, which is your outcome, is
Hmm.
positive. Liking minus wanting, which is your expectation. So
Yeah.
dissatisfaction equal to disliking. Disliking means that a negative outcome. So
Hmm.
minus the wanting, which is the expectation.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 So yeah, if we're talking about satisfaction equal to liking minus wanting, is there anything we can do for dealing with the wanting? I mean, maybe uh not having uh yeah, I think we have one part, right? Um, which is to to make it to make it to make a first habit uh less than 2 minutes, right?
There's in the
Is
respond
it?
part. This is make the behavior easy to meet rules.
Oh,
Mm. And in
okay.
the reward part, I think one of the most common method is the habit uh,
With tracking.
record is called the record. Yeah, and habit tracking is quite related to that. Mm. And it's quite
Mm,
related to that. But this is about the record of the progress. Yeah.
mm,
So every time you did one, and then you record down,
mm,
and then you can, and then you have uh you have so for example, you mark on the calendar, and then you can
mm.
see you have done so many days or so many months without
Yeah.
skipping one. So this is also uh, one of the thing can make you can make you satisfying because
Mm,
you see, yeah, you have done this for so many days, so many months. You keep
mm.
doing the right thing. Yeah.
Yep. And how
And
about
yeah, and
mm,
reward. Another part is another part. Sorry. Some other methods in reward part is like you reward yourself something after uh you make after you finish your habits. Actually,
mm,
not finish your habit. I mean, after uh
every
you take
time you
action.
repeat it?
Yeah. Every time after you take the actions.
Yeah.
To take the action, that means after the response, after the action, after the behavior.
Mm,
Yeah. And uh one thing need to be bear in mind, which is the thing you reward yourself cannot cannot conflict with your habits. For example, you are cutting loss,
mm.
you are cutting weight. You are cutting weight, and then you reward yourself a cheesecake,
Yeah,
then
got it.
cannot. Yeah. So this is something that it cannot be conflict. I
Mm,
think that this is a two common methods in the
yeah,
reward part.
yeah. And I think these two common method I think is more dealing with liking, is it? Because those are the outcomes. Because like
Mm.
you reward yourself, so you actually uh adding something to the outcome.
Yeah, I think expectation is about the craving, right?
Mm, yeah, the
Mm.
craving. Yeah. And also I don't know whether because at the beginning of the book it says something like if we improve 1% every day, and after 1 year we will be 37 times more powerful or stronger. And for this part, is it dealing with the one thing? I'm not sure, because if you just keep your expectation as low as 1% every time or every day, it's actually kind of lowering down your wanting. So it makes the satisfaction more likely to be positive, so that you will repeat your action.
Mm. Does it means that because we keep improve ourselves and then we face to the reality, so our expectation is more likely to grounded uh, based on the reality?
Uh, um, yeah, I just want to say that with the 1% in our mind, yeah, it seems like try to fix our expectation, not having too high expectation at the beginning.
Mm.
Yeah, so that so that we get satisfaction, and then we get what we want, which is to repeat the action to form the habit.
Yeah, but it cannot work in the long term, right? Because first you cannot measure the 1% improvement. This is a this thi- they cannot be quantified because for especially for our personal growth, it is really difficult to measure. And if you want to, if you say yeah, something that we can measure, for example, money, for example, saving, yeah, you know how a 1% growth each day eventually will become more than 3,000% per year. So because of the compounding interest, the exponential growth.
Mm,
So you keep demanding 1%, 1%, 1%, and then at the end you can't achieve the 1%.
mm,
They must have you must reach a point which is a threshold that you couldn't get the 1% improvement anymore.
mm.
Mm.
Yep, but I think in some degree it still can help, because before reaching, like at
Ah,
the end, uh, we actually did it many times, right? We repeat it, so it increased the possibility we form the action, and there will be less friction once we did that many times.
but is this relate to one thing?
Um,
not too much not too much linking here, right?
Yeah, because yeah, I am also confused here.
Yeah.
For satisfaction, it is the reward, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fourth law, and then um yeah, because if we uh uh in my knowledge, I think something we did and then the more the more times we repeat, and then the friction will be lesser. And then if we bring into the if we look into the fourth law, the satisfaction, uh, for the wanting part, uh, if we apply 1% every every day or every time, then it become more and more difficult to achieve. And after some times, maybe you couldn't get a positive satisfaction. But didn't that these two uh, conflict each other?
uh Maybe you start from a wrong starting point,
Hmm.
so you get the conflict conclusion. How I view this, if you okay, if liking is reward
Hmm.
and if wanting is craving, then we just look at the craving, and we need to know the uh the underlying motive, yeah,
Hmm.
in our deep mind. So for example, you want to earn a lot of money, so your habit can be like this: I want to earn a lot of money.
Yeah.
Your liking is when you earn more money than you expect. So sorry, this is a satisfaction. The satisfaction is you earn more money than you expect,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So one thing is something like, for example, I want $10, and liking is I get I get $100.
Hmm.
So 100 minus 10, so positive, so get a satisfaction. And if you convert it into your saving, every month I can save $300.
Hmm.
But what if in a month you have some expenses, some unexpected expenses, so you have to
Yeah.
spend the money, so it lead to dissatisfactions.
Hmm.
Mm. And
Yeah.
how about, the habit is not about saving, the habit is about earning income. So
Hmm.
you keep want to improve, you keep want to increase your pay, increase your salary, you work harder, you work more, you work longer hours, you
Hmm.
work harder, and but but you don't like the job that you work for, and you keep working on it
Hmm.
because you think this is something that you want to earn money. So by earning more money you can feel satisfaction. Yeah, but what is the underlying motive that leads you want to earn money? Maybe you want financial freedom, and like in previous conversation we mentioned already, the income is not the main uh, it's not the main thing. If you it's not the main thing to focus if you want to achieve financial freedom.
Hmm.
What is the main thing is actually is the spending. Yeah, because eventually if you want to get financial freedoms, what you need to do is your investment income, which means your passive income more than your spending, your
Yeah.
expenses. Yeah. So first you need to cut down your spending. So if you think like this, so the whole thing can be changed. So yeah, of course, the underlying motive is you want to get financial freedoms. You want to get financial freedom, but
Hmm.
now the habit is not earning more money. It's not chasing the money.
Hmm.
It's actually try to find way to cut your spending. Try
Yeah.
to become uh, self-sufficient. Maybe you learn something. You learn how to farm. You learn how to cook. You
Hmm.
learn uh, how to how to bike. So you don't need to drive your car. or you train your body. You train your body can bike to your office, yeah, even though it may be 10 kilometer or 20 kilometer per trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you still can do that if you have the energy, if you had trained.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can cut the vehicle expenses. And yeah, so this is something like if your wanting is reduced, so it actually makes sense. For example, somebody demand bigger house, but if I only demand smaller house, can the wanting reduce? Sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I view the formula like this.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and actually there's one part which is line 16, 17.
Okay.
16, 17. And line 16, 17 is cue toward craving, bracket feelings toward respond towards reward feelings.
Yeah.
And the next line, how we feel influences how we act, and how we act influences how we feel. So if you look at 16, 17, so there's two brackets which is about the feeling.
Yeah.
The first at the craving part, the second one at the reward part. So you can see there's some relationship at here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after some so the line before this, which is line 16, 12, so it's a formula. And 16, 13 there's a famous quote which is being poor is not having too little, is wanting more.
Yeah.
So this means it is about your expectations, and it is about the craving. You crave more. Yeah, you want more. And if you know about your underlying motive, you try to change it. So you can do you can make a better habit. Yeah. So for example, the habit is bad one. For example, you playing the game in order to get the sense of accomplishments. So, but what is the underlying motive? Yeah. Yeah. If playing game is the bad things, it's the bad habit. Yeah. So what is the underlying motive you playing the game? For example, overeating. Overeating is a bad thing. Yeah. So what is the underlying motive of overeating?
Yeah. Maybe stress.
Yeah, they could be. Maybe maybe feel stress. Maybe you uh let's say you feel the uh I think I couldn't think any other reason beyond stress for overeating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. There's this. And okay, something I want to add in. Yeah, the first thing is about the happiness. Yeah, it reminds me about the peace of mind. But the author mentioned about the happiness is about doing nothing. I have some doubt here. Yeah, but I couldn't justify. I also couldn't falsify. So I just let it keep in my mind. Yeah. And the second thing is about the smart and intelligent person. And the author say that being motivated and curious is more than being smart and intelligent. Yeah. So I remember we have one topic which is about why not all smart people are rich people. Yeah. So yeah, it makes sense. So being smart is just one. Is one of the benefit. Is one of the advantage.
Yeah.
But being smart is not everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can be smart, but you can be poor. You can be smart, but you can did nothing in your life. You just smart. Because you do nothing. And the next thing is about one of thing, which is the feeling and or emotions lead to behavior, which is the behavior driven by the feeling or the emotion. Yeah, it reminds me the cognitive therapy. The cognitive therapy technique, which is we need to change the interpretation of your emotion. So if you change your interpretation of your emotion, you can change your behavior. You can change your actions. Yeah. So this is okay. The next thing is about the acceptance. Yeah, the acceptance. I also have some question here. And we shouldn't accept everything. We shouldn't like give up any hope and accept everything. And you can see some other people that did nothing in their life and they claim that they accept everything, but actually they didn't. Yeah, they just give up their life. So this is about the acceptance, and I think a positive acceptance, a positive mindset about acceptance is something like grounded based on the reality. Grounded based on the reality. Yeah. So if you say everything is just based on luck, and in Chinese there's one vocab which is like 随缘, so which is like
follow
depend
your
on the
fate, accept your fate.
yeah, it's something like follow your fate or listen to the God. God will prepare everything for you. Now, so it's also a kind of acceptance, but I think this is a negative one.
Yeah.
And also one more thing. When you make a conclusions, when you make a summary, and I realize something, which we actually we can create a model based on this, just like the author create a model to deal with the habits based on the four step of human behavior. So about the Q, and the author say awareness come from come before the desire. So Q is like the awareness. And the next is desire or the emotions, and the third one is actions or behavior, which is a response. And the fourth one is satisfactions, and which is the liking minus wanting, which is a reward. And also equivalence to expectation minus outcome. And if you look at these four things, awareness, is it important to us? Really, really important, right?
Yeah.
And we keep talking about awareness. And it could be one of the most important things. And it relates to the meta connections. And we do meditation because we want to train, we want to like advance our skill of self-awareness. So this is the first thing, which is this is one of the important things, which is awareness. And the second is the desire and emotion. We also know that our desire and our emotion is important, and emotions sometimes is more useful than rational thinking. And we also discussed this in before. Sometimes you try to act being emotional can be more effective to achieve your goals. So this is one of the things. And the third one is action or behavior. And we also discussed this before, especially in the Stockdale paradox. We mentioned that you can not only have the faith, you also need to take action. Action is very, very important. And the last thing is about the satisfaction, which is the reward. So we need to keep ourselves satisfying, because this is something like the relate to the happiness. yeah, but of course, the definition of happiness is different from people to people. But if I, but I, but if I refer, but if I refer to the positive psychology definition one, which is happiness equal meaning, meaning plus pleasure. Meaning is long-term thing, and pleasure is short-term thing. So you can not only be long-term satisfying, you also need to be short-term satisfying. You cannot keep sacrificing your short-term for long-term. Yeah, you also cannot sacrifice your long-term for short-term all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, satisfying is something like uh it's something like we also need to reward ourselves. We cannot like uh we cannot always in a race. We cannot like keep work hard, but we didn't enjoy for our life. So yeah, satisfying is also important. So you can link it to the happiness. Yeah, but of course it's not the happiness mentioned in this reading session. It's the it's the definition of from the positive psychology one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all for my summary.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, really. Me too. For the happiness part, I also find it a little bit conflict. Yeah, right. For the happiness definition in today's reading part, and also the happiness, the positive psychology definitions of happiness. Yep.
Yeah, and yeah, I would like to mention one of the things that we have formed this reading habits. Yeah. Especially we read a book about habits, and yeah, before I read this book, actually I have tried hard to read this book. It's kind of like using my self-controlling ability to read this book. And uh, I couldn't finish the whole book. I just finished about, I think it's less than half. Yeah. So I have one mindset, which is, yeah, because I know this book is quite good and is important, and so I recommend you and to read the book together. So yeah, and then yeah, of course we did it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this is and after reading this book, and also during the process, I found that I actually feel less resistance to to writing English and also to reading English book. Yeah. And I think in these 2 months I have read if I'm not wrong is one of if I'm not wrong is 2 or 3 English book already.
Wow.
Yeah, in this 2 months. So yeah, really especially in this year, I read a lot of English book. First one, Atomic Habit. Second is the book name is earlier retirement extreme. Yeah, which is the financial independence book I mentioned in prior conversation.
Yep.
And the third one is The Alchemist. Yeah, I have finished this book, and now I'm reading the Secret of Money Lab. This is the next. This is the current book that I read. I just started to read the book. Yeah, and you can see I really read I really read quite many English books.
How about our next book is also English, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So should we start with the next book
Yeah.
by next week?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, so anything want to add in?
Yeah, today's one, I think I need times to digest.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's all for mine. How about you?
Yeah, I have nothing to add in.
Mm.
Okay, so that's all for our today conversations. How do you feel? Do you enjoy the conversations? Please tell us what you think of our conversation. And we are not native speakers. If you found any vocabulary mistake to make, please also comment to let us know. We also want to learn more and improve ourselves. Remember to like, subscribe to us. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.